这个被人鞭打的女孩叫做安妮，自幼父母双亡，被一家人收养后受尽了苦难与折磨。这天，男主人在鞭打她时突发心脏病，当场去世。被送回孤儿院的安妮遭到了院长的拒收，随后她被送上火车，去往一个叫做绿山墙的地方。那里有一户人家想要收养一个孩子，然而她并不知道，这户人家想要的其实是个男孩。玛丽拉和马修是一对未娶未嫁的兄妹，由于年事已高，马修的心脏出了点问题，兄妹俩决定收养一个男孩来帮他们打理农活。可当马修来到车站，却发现送来的是一个女孩。
I'm aware that I'm not much to look at, but even though I'm thin, I'm very strong.
I want you to know that I'm forever grateful that you're adopting me.
在安妮主动又热情的自我推销下，腼腆的马修一时不知该如何拒绝，只能先将女孩带回家再做打算。一路上，安妮喋喋不休地介绍自己，天马行空的想法让她为见到的一切事物都取上了名字。沿途的风景让安妮神魂颠倒，这是她见过最美的地方。安妮对新生活充满了期待，马修也对这个话痨女孩越来越喜欢。穿过白色的林荫大道，他们终于抵达家门口。下车前，安妮又掐了一下自己，证明她不是在做梦。然而，玛丽拉的一句话还是将她的美好打破了。
Matthew Cuthbert? Who's that? Where is the boy?
马修解释了来龙去脉，安妮这才知道他们想要的是个男孩。
I should have expected it.
看着伤心的安妮，玛丽拉斥责弟弟不应该将她带回来。不过事已至此，只能先让安妮留宿一晚，明天一早再将她送走。晚饭安妮一口也吃不下，玛丽拉将她带回房间休息。听着泣不成声的安妮，玛丽拉心里不是滋味。
We might be some good to her.
清晨，安妮抚摸着房间里的陈设，她想记住这里的美好，但这却引起了玛丽拉的怀疑。
Did you take anything?
No. I was only memorizing.
Let me see. Stop your snooping and come to breakfast.
早餐过后，安妮主动收拾起餐盘，并说自己什么都能干，只要能让她留下。然而玛丽拉心意已决，临走时马修真心希望安妮能留下，只可惜他说了不算。
My brother is a ridiculous man.
I think he's lovely.
一路上，安妮和玛丽拉聊得不错，玛丽拉也得知了安妮饱受虐待的经历。突然，一只野狗冲了出来，惊扰了马车，安妮被摔了下来。起身后，她丝毫不慌，直接赶走了野狗，随后安抚受惊的马儿。安妮处事不惊的样子让玛丽拉刮目相看，但这依然没能成为让她留下的理由。玛丽拉托人传话想收养一个男孩，可经办人却听成了女孩。她找到经办人想将安妮送回，巧的是旁边的一户人家正需要一个干活的人手。
If I take you, you'll do as I say and speak when spoken to. I don't suffer no back talk, and if I find you lacking, you'll know the toe of my boot. I expect you to earn your keep and no mistake.
眼前这狼藉的一幕和女主人毫不客气的态度，看似铁石心肠的玛丽拉此刻有些于心不忍。
Well, I don't know. I didn't say Matthew and I had absolutely decided we wouldn't keep her. I just came over to find out how the mistake had occurred. I'd better take her home again and talk it over with my brother. I ought not to decide on anything without consulting him.
玛丽拉的临时变卦让安妮喜出望外，正在干活的马修看到去而复返的安妮，喜悦溢于言表。玛丽拉决定给安妮1周的试用期，如果表现好就可以留下，反之则继续将她送回孤儿院。
God only knows what we're getting ourselves into.
第二天，玛丽拉来到安妮的房间，却发现安妮不见了。她赶紧检查自己的财产，然而安妮只是早起帮忙收了鸡蛋，原来只是虚惊一场。邻居瑞秋一直反对玛丽拉收养孩子，她口无遮拦地将安妮的缺点都说了个遍，说她又丑又瘦，还一脸的雀斑。没想到安妮因为这句话情绪失控，不仅用同样的话羞辱瑞秋，甚至不顾玛丽拉的阻拦，独自跑到了悬崖边，流下了伤心的眼泪。平复好心情后，安妮回来向玛丽拉道歉，可她却要安妮去向邻居道歉。安妮宁死不屈，为了管教安妮，玛丽拉罚她不准吃饭，直到她愿意道歉为止。夜晚，马修来到安妮的房间，他不希望安妮因为这件事和玛丽拉闹僵。在马修的劝导下，安妮同意去道歉，但不是为了自己的行为，而是为了马修和玛丽拉。隔天，安妮诚恳地向邻居道歉。
My hair is red, and I am freckled, and skinny, and ugly. Now, what I said to you was true too, but I shouldn't have said it. Oh, Mrs. Lynde, please say you can forgive me. If you refuse, oh, it'll be a lifelong sorrow on a poor little orphan girl. Please say you forgive me, Mrs. Lynde.
There, get up, child. Of course I forgive you. I guess I was a little hard on you.
浮夸的演技连玛丽拉都看不下去了。不过这件事总算是结束了。镇上的名流听说马修收养了个女孩，特地邀请马修一家去做客，说是做客，实则是想见见安妮的品性，看会不会影响到自己的孩子。为了留下好印象，安妮换了一身新衣裳，玛丽拉也盛装打扮，还戴上了祖传的红宝石胸针。两人来到名流家，戴安娜主动找到安妮聊天， 没想到这直接点燃了安妮话痨的本性，两人就这样成了好朋友。回到家后，安妮仍意犹未尽，玛丽拉让她帮忙把围巾放到楼上的椅子上，可安妮却将它戴在了头上，把自己想象成了公主。晚上，安妮在床前祷告，希望自己能留在这里。突然，玛丽拉进来询问自己的胸针。
Where is my brooch?
Should be there on your shawl.
It is not. Nor is it in my jewelry box. Did you take it?
I was playing with it, but I didn't take it.
You were told not to touch it.
I'm sorry. It's just it's so beautiful I couldn't resist.
Give it back. Right now.
But I didn't take it, Miss Cuthbert.
安妮坚称自己没有拿，但玛丽拉不信。
You confess to stealing the brooch, or you have no future here at Green Gables.
But I didn't take it.
Confess, or I'll send you right back to the asylum.
If I do, can I stay here at Green Gables?
Did you or did you not take the brooch?
听到要将她送走，安妮慌了。
I lost it. I was playing Lady Cordelia when I took the brooch outside with me. And as I was drawing water from the well, I leaned over to make a wish and it fell in. I heard it make a splash as it disappeared down into the depths. I'm ever so sorry, Miss Cuthbert.
Pack your things.
But you said if I confessed I could stay.
I told you that brooch meant a great deal to me.
No, but I made that up. None of that was real. I didn't take your brooch. I don't know where it is, please.
I don't have to do anything. Enough. Tomorrow you will go.
安妮心如死灰，所有的期盼化为了泡影，她无力地瘫坐着。隔天一大早，安妮坐上了去往火车站的马车。做了这个决定，兄妹俩的心里也很难受。不久后，玛丽拉将收拾好的衣服放到椅子上，却不曾想在椅子的夹缝中发现了那枚丢失的红宝石胸针。原来她真的冤枉了安妮。这一刻的她无比内疚。可当马修赶到火车站时，已经晚了，安妮已经离开了。然而马修并未放弃，他骑马一路追赶，马儿跑累了，就搭路边的顺风车。他不辞辛苦也要将安妮追回来。此时的安妮已经坐上了前往孤儿院的船，脑海里玛丽拉说的话历历在目，被冤枉的感觉真的不好受。独自在家的玛丽拉坐立难安，时不时的朝屋外看去。她此刻真心希望马修能将安妮带回来。安妮抵达了孤儿院，可她却站在门外，想起了曾经饱受霸凌的场景。这一刻，她退缩了。马修一夜未归，玛丽拉放心不下。她正要驾驶着马车出门寻找时，邻居瑞秋将她拦了下来，并告诉她已经让丈夫帮忙出门寻找了。他们现在唯一可以做的就是等待。安妮在孤儿院外睡了一宿，醒来后她看到前来送牛奶的小胖，便主动上前搭讪。
Hello, Mr. Avery.
Oh, goodness.
她想搭小胖的顺风车前往最近的火车站。奔波了一夜的马修终于到了港口，他正要买票时，却发现没有带钱，只好当掉了自己传家的怀表。当他从当铺出来后，看见了一个背影酷似安妮的小姑娘，马修急忙跟了过去，却丝毫没注意到路上疾驰的马车。不出意外，他出意外了。另一边，安妮正在给小胖打下手，也因此换来了一些吃的。马修从昏迷中苏醒，发现自己已经身处轮船上了。玛丽拉在家疯狂地擦着地板，她试图用忙碌来麻痹自己。马修连夜赶到了孤儿院，可不管他怎么敲门都没反应，无奈他只能在地上睡了一夜。醒来后的他被修女当成了乞丐，他顾不上落魄的形象，只想赶快见到安妮。可院长却告诉他，安妮自始至终都没回来过。
Gave me a start. Same thing happened yesterday, only that time it was a little girl.
安妮来到了火车站，她向路人朗诵诗歌来换取零钱，可愿意停下来听她朗诵的人少之又少。终于，一对姐妹被安妮所打动。就在她朗诵诗歌时，人群中传来了一声呼唤：“是马修！”他终于找到了这里，可安妮还在为冤枉他的事生气。
Listen to me. I've come to take you home to Green Gables.
Why? So you can banish me whenever you feel like it? I had to come all this way because you didn't want me.
I do want you, Anne. We do.
I would appreciate it if you would leave me alone.
马修苦苦哀求，可他始终不愿回去。
Please? Oh, I'll give you a please. Please have the decency to let me be!
Is there a problem here? We're fine. She's my daughter. 安妮释然了。今天是安妮第一天上学，她一路上都在练习着如何打招呼。
Oh, your dress is splendid. Puff sleeves are divine.
为了留下好印象，她还在帽子上插满了各式各样的鲜花。可尽管这样，同学们还是瞧不起她孤儿的身份，甚至还有男同学侮辱她是流浪狗。 玛丽拉因为收养了安妮，正式成为了一名母亲。她被邀请进了镇上的母亲协会，一起讨论孩子的教育问题。戴安娜带着安妮参观学院，却意外发现了老师和女同学的秘密。
I see Andrews and the teacher, Mr. Phillips. They must be making a baby. What?
很快流言在同学之间传开，午休时姐妹们让安妮分享看到的秘密，可年少无知的安妮竟然将她在上一个家庭养父母战斗时所听到的都描述了出来。同学们纷纷收起了午餐。
Is lunchtime over already?
No, I won't eat next to dirty trash. Come on, girls, before we all become tarnished.
安妮意识到自己说错话了。放学时，同学们都拥抱彼此告别，只有安妮孤身一人。回家的路上，她摘掉了帽子上的花朵，收拾好沮丧的心情。
Hi there. Hi, Jerry.
为了不让马修担心，他装作一切顺利，直到来到房间，他才卸下伪装。第二天，他整理好辫子，然后对着马儿自言自语：“今天一定不要再说错话，再做错事。”可就在上学途中，那个被破坏了名声的女同学的哥哥来找他算账，安妮被吓得连连后退。幸好这时同班同学伯特及时出现，替安妮解了围。随后两人一起走进了教室。这一幕被姐妹们看到，安妮正准备向伯特道谢，可话说到一半就被周围的同学打断了。安妮很识趣地走开了。
Why are you walking with that orphan girl? Why not?
She's aloof.
I don't care where she's from. A cute girl is a cute girl.
姐妹们看到安妮和男神在一起，纷纷出来找她兴师问罪。可怜的安妮什么都没做就被排挤了。另一边，玛丽拉莫名其妙的被母亲协会给剔除了，并让她好好管教安妮。不明所以的玛丽拉一路上都板着个脸，她不知道安妮到底闯了什么祸。语文课上，安妮被点名朗读课文，她终于有机会展示她的特长了。
O'er the wild waters, laboring far from home.
She's good.
然而一番慷慨激昂的朗诵，却只换来了全班同学的耻笑。午休时，伯特拿着苹果来找安妮，为了不让姐妹再为难自己，他拒绝和伯特说任何话。
I'm not supposed to talk to you.
Why not?
与此同时，马修终于打听到了安妮在学校说的话。玛丽拉非常生气。
Cannot bear to think of her spewing such filth. What a disgrace.
I feel worried for Anne. This one.
Matthew Cuthbert, I don't understand you at all. That child is...
A child burns me up. A girl of her tender age, she ought to know such things.
玛丽拉幡然醒悟，她找到被传言的女学生家长道歉，可对方却说安妮就是个垃圾，就不应该被收养。
You can hold Anne responsible for what she said.
I can and most certainly do.
But you can't hold against her what she's seen or been exposed to. That child has endured more than any of us can know or imagine. And thank the good Lord that poor Anne has finally found safe haven. Good day.
伯特为了能和安妮说上话，竟然直接在课堂上用纸团砸安妮。安妮不予理睬，却没想到这小子更加得寸进尺，直接来到安妮身边拽她的辫子。
Charlie! Get up here now!
这里充满了对她的偏见，安妮心如死灰，她决定永远离开这里。这里充满了对她的偏见。
I know just how you feel. You've been judged harshly.
I am never going back to school.
自从没去上学，安妮整天心不在焉。玛丽拉出门前叮嘱她考路上有派，让她别忘记了。可她却只顾着和想象中的朋友自言自语，全然没注意到已经冒起的青烟。直到玛丽拉回家时才发现。
Anne! Marilla? Oh, the pie.
玛丽拉决定不再忍受，她让安妮必须回到学校，这对她来说是最好的。
Please don't make me, Marilla, please. I can't face it. I promise I'll do better here. I promise.
You can stop while you're bargaining, because there's no use in it.
I don't have any friends.
You've got Diana.
No! She can't like me when no one else does, don't you see?
Harm yourself.
And guilt. Well, there's a boy whose sole purpose in life is to humiliate
Stuff
me.
and nonsense.
I don't fit in!
You are going back to school tomorrow, and that's final.
安妮还是去上学了，可临近学校跟前时，她实在没有勇气进去，她逃学了。到了放学时间，安妮回到家，假装一切顺利。玛丽拉看着重回校园的安妮，心里很是欣慰。直到戴安娜和卢比登门拜访， 她才终于得知真相。安妮在自己的小天地打发时间，她把自己扮成了老师在上课，而眼前的松果则成了她的学生。当安妮回到家时，马修和玛丽拉早已等候多时。安妮和往常一样编着故事，直到看见桌上的课本后，她才知道逃学的事被发现了。玛丽拉请来牧师，而牧师给她的建议竟然是不想上就不要上。
If the girl doesn't want to go to school, then she shouldn't go. She should stay home and learn proper housekeeping until she marries. Every young woman should learn how to be a good wife.
玛丽拉陷入了迷茫，牧师的想法她内心并不认同。晚上，安妮被警铃声吵醒，她来到窗前，看到远处冒着火光，马修提着灯正往那边赶去。随后，安妮叫上玛丽拉，把家里能带的桶都带上，也前往那里去救火。着火的正是卢比家，小镇的人几乎都来帮忙灭火了，可火势依旧无法阻挡。
Why are the doors and windows open?
安妮拿起毛毯用水浸湿，然后冲进火场。她关闭了所有门窗，再用毛毯堵住门缝。做完这些，她才准备出来。可由于吸入了大量烟尘，导致她无法站立。在外面等待的玛丽拉焦急万分，好在安妮安然无恙的出来了。
Fire needs oxygen. Closing windows and doors deprives it.
Oh, my word.
Anne slowed down the fire.
However do you know that?
It was Anne. She did it.
安妮的英勇表现得到了大家的认可，因为重建房屋需要一段时间，卢比只能暂住到别人家里。可他做梦也想不到会和自己曾经最嫌弃的人睡一张床。安妮好心安慰卢比，讲起了他幻想的童话故事。
It's a shame you're not in school anymore. You seem awful smart about things. It's best for everyone that I'm not there.
第二天，两人拎着点心来工地犒劳大家，只顾着看呆的卢比摔了一跤，结果就被楼上的男生一顿取笑。
That was great.
安妮挺身而出。
What is wrong with you?
Go home and bake cookies.
If you're too busy being a bully to get it done.
伯特将卢比扶了起来，看到男神离自己这么近，卢比心潮澎湃。然而伯特的眼里似乎只有安妮。
Gilbert is so chivalrous.
Well, he's something, all right.
安妮将自己的小天地分享给了卢比和戴安娜，三人成了无话不谈的好朋友。然而快乐的时光总是短暂的，卢比即将回家，学校也即将开学，他们不得不分开。
I'll miss you, Anne.
安妮将自己的困惑告诉玛丽拉。
It worries me what the minister said. Not the being part. He was right about that. It's the not going to school and being wife part.
Now, it seems to me you should decide for yourself what you want to do and be and set your mind to it. You've got a good and nimble mind, Anne. I don't see why you should limit it.
安妮想通了。
It's Anne. Anne, she's here. I missed you so much.
Anne Shirley Cuthbert, take your seat.